Let's get it started in here. And the bass keeps running, running, and 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 running, running. Ah! If I knew all the lyrics, I would go so in right now, but I'm afraid that is not the case. Anyway, should I just roll with the punches? Fuck it. Hello, 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 and welcome to Kaylin's Corner. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I can't take myself serious right now because I hit the record button with the anticipation of just doing like a little mic check kind of thing. But you know what? Fuck it. We ball. Actually, I don't think that really makes sense in this scenario, but fuck it. We ball. Fuck it, it's alright. Uh Hello, 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 and welcome to Kaylin's Corner. I'm your host, Kaylin, and this is my corner of the internet, where I talk about anything and everything that comes to mind. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope this finds you well. I'm really energized at the moment, and maybe it's because I just ate and the food is doing its thing, or it's Friday. It's Feel Good Friday, Fantastic Friday, all the good words that start with F. It's fucking Fantastic Friday, baby. It's Friday. Oh, God. Sorry. Instant regret. Instant regret after I said that. But anywho, happy Friday if you're listening to this on a Friday, or just happy day to you because every day is a fun, well, every day can be a fun day if you find the fun things to do, or if you find the fun in the things you do. Bada bing, bada boom. Dale. Love Pitbull. It's 11:11. Make a wish. Sorry, I was making a wish, guys. I'm a little extra hype right now. I maybe it's the protein powder, maybe it's because I was making some TikToks with my dog earlier. Genuinely not sure what the root cause is. But I'm not mad about it. How can I be mad? I'm here, I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm safe, I'm happy. Not everyone can say that in this very moment, but sometimes you just gotta stop and take a moment, take some deep breaths, and list a couple things that you're grateful for. Even if it's just one thing, even if it's just being alive. I know sometimes being alive does not feel awesome in the moment because you just got some bad news, or you feel like the most terrible thing in the world just happened. But just because it seems terrible in that moment doesn't mean that it will pan out to be terrible forever later on, you know? There's two sides to every coin. Just because you're seeing the negative side of that coin right now doesn't mean you won't be able to kind of flip the narrative a little bit and see the positive side of that same circumstance. Whether it's in this moment right now or later, you know, it's a possibility still. Because, like I said, there's two sides to every coin, and I think there's always something to be positive about or happy about in every scenario. Sorry, my mind went political. If you've been keeping up with the news, or even, you don't even have to be on the news to, if you know, you know. I feel like if you're listening to this the week of, or even the week after, you know what I'm talking about because it's all over the news, the social media, everywhere I go, no matter what app I'm in, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, it's just they're talking about it. The, dare I say, assassination of that man. I don't even want to say his name. If you know, you know, and if you don't, it happened what, on the 10th, aka Wednesday. If you haven't heard about it, you can go do your due diligence and look it up. I wouldn't watch the close up video though. Don't watch the close up video if you don't want to traumatize yourself, if you're not into that gory stuff. Because it is traumatizing. Although I am sad to say that it didn't scar me too much because I feel like I've seen a lot of gory things, especially within the last 2 years. Ugh, free Palestine. I can't. It breaks my heart thinking about it, but it's. I've seen so much. I feel like I'm a bit desensitized to a lot of the. What's the word I'm looking for? Violence? Damn, how did I not think of that? Anyway, I feel like I'm a bit desensitized to a lot of violence. I don't agree with it whatsoever. I don't condone violence. I don't consider myself a violent person unless provoked, but please don't provoke me. Anyway, I am not a fan of violence. I like why spread more pain and misery? There's already enough of that going on. Why not be the other side of that coin? Be the positivity, be the light for people to see, you know? Like, I think that you should lead by example. And ooh, sometimes I feel like it's a little bit hypocritical for me to say because I do find myself kind of, well, being a hypocrite, but I feel like it's through hypocrisy that we as people learn because you don't know something is wrong until it's wrong. Or sometimes, like, you can have your mindset in a certain way, or you can say that you believe a certain thing, but you don't realize that you're actually doing that thing that you're so against, just in a different angle, if that makes sense. Like, mm, 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 mm. I'm trying to think of an example. The first thing that's coming to mind for me right now is like, all life has value, including the bugs on the ground. But then we go and we kill the mosquitoes and the flies and the moths and all the other insects that may cross our paths and feel like they're doing us wrong or they're in our territory and whatever. It feels a little bit hypocritical, no? But the lives of the insects still have value because they do something for the environment. Maybe not for us directly in that moment, especially. Fuck the mosquitoes, by the way. But the mosquitoes do serve as like a food source for some other animals in our ecosystem and whatnot. So, like, there is some value to them, even though I hate their guts. Excuse me. I may hate their guts, but they also do a little something. Maybe they don't do as much as I'm thinking they're doing. Maybe there really aren't that many other animals in our ecosystem that feed off of mosquitoes, but they exist. Something's got to be eating them. There's got to be something on the food chain for them to fear. That's not just humans. Do you know what I mean? I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. Because I'm trying to think of another example as I speak, and I genuinely am blanking right now. So that's that on that, I guess. But yeah, I do feel like going back to a point that I had made that you kind of learn from your hypocrisy, or you should learn from your hypocrisy. Like, how are you gonna? It's like practicing what you preach, basically. Like, how are you gonna preach this but not practice it? Type beat. And sometimes you don't realize that you're not practicing it because to you in your head it's a little bit normalized. Like, this is the exception to the rule. But is it though? Is it really the exception to the rule? Or are you just telling yourself that because it's what you're used to? Is it really the exception to the rule, or are you just telling yourself that because other people said that? Do you truly feel like it's the exception to the rule, or is it just normalized? A little food for thought, I guess. I guess. That reminds me of a journal entry that I did. Bruh. Sorry, I got a little distracted on my phone. When I was reading through some old journal entries last week, I read through. This was an entry from like 2014 ish, I think. So I was like 14 years old, mind you. And I found myself writing, I guess, a lot. And in that entry itself, I was getting frustrated with myself for being so unsure and just saying, I guess. And I very much was like, I need to pick a side. Yes or no. I gotta be on the fence or off it. Like, why am I so unsure with the things that I'm saying? I'm writing this to myself, for myself, whatever, you know? So, why am I so unsure? Fear, perhaps? I don't know. Well, I'm not. Again, with the uncertainty, I think it's fear. That's the first thing that came to my mind. So, I'm gonna use that as the, I want to say bait, but that doesn't feel like the right word to use. As the cause. Fear is the cause, but I'm actively or trying to work on not living in fear, not living in like a little, a little, a fight or flight moment, fight or flight mode, because that's essentially what I'm doing by living in fear, very much unsure. So I can't do this and I can't do that because I don't know how it's going to go. Just pick one and then continue to make choices based on what happens after. And it's taken me a while to come to this conclusion. It's been 11 years and I'm still working on it because it's so easy to just regress back to what you know. You know, when you're so used to doing something for such a long amount of time, you have to physically and mentally, even emotionally, kind of just pick a side and stick to it and actively remember, hey, we don't want to do this anymore. Remember what happened the last time we did this? Remember what happened every time we did this? Opportunities were missed, things were misconstrued, the health went down the drain. Like, we gotta work, actively work to be better, do better, feel better, be better. And it takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of energy because uh, in recent times, I have found myself regressing, going back to laying in bed on my days off and kind of just bed rotting, which is something that I became aware of a while ago and wasn't so much of a fan of. And I would kind of think myself into loops and try to figure out, like, try to think my way out of it. But really, sometimes you can't think your way out of it. You have to put action to the thought. Like, okay, I noticed that I've been in bed all day. Let me get up and do something. Whether it's just fixing my bed, maybe fixing my bed will lead me to doing something else, reorganizing something else in my room, or getting out of my room and doing something else, reorganizing something else in the house, doing a different kind of chore. So, for anyone else out there who may find themselves stuck in their thoughts and in these negative loops, much easier said than done. But sometimes you just gotta, once you realize you're in it, you just gotta get up, start moving, move your body, dance a little bit, put on a song that you can't help but dance to. And it maybe it'll help you get the ball rolling. All sometimes you just need that little bit of motion. And sometimes I get those urges like when I'm up late at night. That's another thing too. I I like to be up at night. I consider myself a night owl, but my lifestyle right now requires me to be a bit of an early bird between my job and my appointments with my personal trainer. They're all in the morning. So even if it's my day off, if I actually want to work on my health and work on my physical activity and work with someone who can help me do that, I have to be up early in the morning. I have to be up and at the gym early in the morning, up and out of my house early in the morning. And that doesn't necessarily coincide with the night owl lifestyle. I mean, could I try it? Of course. Is it gonna help me much? Probably not, because rest is also required. Your body functions in cycles. And when you sleep, it has its functions. Your body does its thing overnight. And if you're not sleeping for the correct amount of time or for a long enough time for your body to complete these cycles, you're doing yourself a disservice and not really helping yourself as much as you think. Like you think, oh, well, I can function off of 5, 6 hours of sleep. So you think your body is physically moving, but there's things going on the inside that are not working in your favor because you're not helping your body by giving it the necessary amount of sleep. You know what I mean? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm very much rambling right now, bars, but I hope that it's making sense to you the way that it's making sense to me. Kind of just, I'm kind of just going with the flow, rolling with the punches right now. I'm yipping and yapping as I normally do. But yeah, so it's been quite the adjustment and trying to figure out like what is it that I like about being up at night and how can I get that same kind of feeling, I guess you can say, in the morning. I've noticed that for me personally, I enjoy the peace and quiet of being up at night because most of the people are asleep, or if they are up, they're inside, so it isn't really noisy outside. And in my house, personally, it's not really noisy either, so I enjoy the peace and quiet. But I can also get that same kind of peace and quiet if I were to get up early. But to get up early, I have to go to bed early, so it requires me to make that change. However, there are times where, say, I work later in the day, so I'm not necessarily able to go to sleep as early as I would if I went to work in the morning. So the environment definitely does come into play, but there certainly are some steps that can be taken to help to work in my favor, I guess you can say. That can benefit me in the long run. Like, I can't work at night. Sorry. That kind of thing. But it's a work in progress. I'm just giving you some personal examples. And I hope that what I'm saying makes sense. I hope that you can pick up what I'm putting down. And if you need some clarity, I'd be happy to do so. I'd be happy to provide you with some clarity because sometimes I say things and I feel like I contradict myself when I'm talking. So I always feel like what I'm saying is a little bit confused. Well, not always. I feel like what I'm saying can be confusing, at least in those moments. So yeah, there's that. But damn, 20 minutes in already? Sheesh, what was I even talking about, baby? I don't I don't know. I don't know. Uh, I just love to yap. I get in these yapper dapper moods and I just be talking, talking, talking. Talking, talking, talking. But I didn't hit record with the intention of actually doing a full on episode, so this is good. We love to see it. I uh it's the stutter for me. Baby, I don't know where I'm gonna take this now. Ooh, my foot is cramping. Hold on, give me 1 second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. The leg cramp has, well, foot cramp rather, has gone away, but so has my train of thought. Oh well, it's okay. I will yap, yap, yap away. Anyway. During my intermission just now, I've realized how easy it is for me to just get distracted. Like, your girl repositioned herself and tried to relieve the foot cramp away. But in while doing so, I was like, let me just pick up my phone and do a little bit of scrolling while I'm like flexing my foot to get rid of the cramp. And babe, I was doom scrolling for longer than I would like to admit. Probably like a half an hour or so. When in that time I could have finished recording my podcast episode. Oops. But it's little things like that that make me realize that it, I'm having a bit of a full circle moment now. Like it's very much you have to, or I have to focus on what I'm doing, like actually all the time. Like sometimes I'm like, yeah, sure, I can just do this thing really quick. No, no, you got to set time aside to actually do these things. Well, I'm saying you, but I mean me. I'm talking to myself from an outside perspective, or so that's what it feels like right now in this moment. But I've realized that I think that I can do multiple things at once. And yeah, sure, I can. But in doing so, I compromise the quality of the things that I'm doing along with just my focus and my attention and the time too. Because if I would just stop and do one thing and then start to do another thing, I could probably get it done faster as opposed to trying to do multiple things at once. Because then there's a little bit of delay and I have to stop and think and about what it is that I'm doing to make sure I'm not mixing or messing anything up. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just a little bit of insight that I have come to realize and I wanted to share. Granted, it might not necessarily be as relevant as to the scenario right now, considering it was like a foot cramp. And yeah, I guess I could have just kept on recording and talked my way through, but I didn't feel like it. I don't know. But I guess maybe next time I will, just to keep it real and to keep the ball rolling, because sometimes I stop and I lose focus. I lose the, not the stamina. I lose the, what's the word I'm looking for? I lose the, damn, I lose the flow. I lose the flow that I'm in. And I feel like I was very much in a flow state. It was a rapid flow state though, because In those first 20 minutes, I talked about a lot of things, I feel like, but I could have definitely expanded a bit more on some of the topics. But if I end up circling back to them, I'll circle back to them and I'll expand more. But as for right now, I don't really see a need in going back and doing that. But it's a realization that I've come to. So sometimes you just gotta like put a pin in it, stop and put a pin in it, and continue what you're doing right now. But then there's also part of me that's like, well, what about inspired action? And I don't know. Like, inspired action to me is more so like doing things, like doing something sporadically when you're not necessarily doing anything else that's important. Like, if I'm in bed and I all of a sudden get the urge to get up and, I don't know, reorganize my closet for some reason, maybe I should just go and do it, instead of be like, oh, yeah, that's something I could do. I don't feel like doing it right now, but I'm not really doing anything important. I'm just in bed. But then again, sometimes when you're in bed, it's a required, like, I don't want to say bedtime, but required rest time because rest is also important. But actually, this kind of goes back to what I was saying in the beginning of me talking about not getting enough sleep. Perhaps the rest time should be left for bedtime. That's kind of something that I struggle with too. I'm not a napper though, so whenever I am in bed, like unless I'm sick or if I'm having like an off day and I really want to just like try to sleep it off, I'm not sleeping in that bed, baby. I'm doing everything else, watching YouTube videos, watching TikToks, Instagram reels, something, something. But I'm trying to get a handle on that too because the overconsumption goes crazy. It's a little bit insane. And I've realized that while this consumption of media can help to build a community, so to speak, in a certain way, I feel like it also has drawn people away from each other. Like, social media is great. Social media is awesome. It has its perks, of course, like anything else, but it also has its downsides. Being on social media is cool because you're able to interact with people that you wouldn't be able to interact with otherwise because they're not in your direct vicinity. They're not direct members of your local community. But since you're connected to the internet, you can still communicate with them and talk with them and not feel so alone in a way because you two can relate. And maybe there isn't anyone in your direct vicinity that you can relate to on the same level. However, because you are on the internet, you're not able to find someone in your direct community vicinity that does have that same niche of interest as you and explore that with them in real life versus in the pixels. So, I don't know, but I do love the internet for being able to create such communities because I've been on the internet for a long time, probably. Ooh, internet access for me. I mean, I didn't have my first phone until, well, no. Let me let me rephrase that. I didn't have my first like touchscreen phone until I was in like middle school, but it was probably like 2012, 2013 maybe. And that is mm, sorry. I got a notification on my phone and I looked at it and I shouldn't have. I lost my train of thought. The unfiltered internet access at such a young age helped to expose me to a lot of things. But it did also help me it did also help me to find people with similar interests as me and not feel so alone, because while there are people, or there are and there were people during that time that I related to and kept in regular contact with, they have their own lives, they do their own things, and sometimes our free time doesn't really align. So having access to other people on the internet with the same niche and things, niche and interests as me, was such an amazing thing. It was wonderful. It was, I don't know, not everything I could dream of and more, but it, I don't even know what word to use to describe it really. It was a wonderful thing. It was a wonderful time. And I loved it. I loved it, and I still do. I still hold those people near and dear to my heart, even if we don't keep in contact much anymore. But I brought this up to say that it's amazing to me how throughout my history on the internet, I guess you could say, that kind of, I've met lots of people along the way. People that I don't necessarily keep in contact with daily, but still get to see them on the internet when they post their things, or chit chat with every once in a while and see how things have changed, see how they've grown. And I don't know, it's so cool to me. The internet is such a cool, fun thing. And with that being said, I'm also able to share and express myself with anyone who's willing to listen, look and listen via the social media, via my podcast right now. I don't know. Sometimes when I'm talking about things like this, I feel like a kid who's just learned things. Like, yeah, girl, didn't you make have this realization before? I mean, yes, but I don't know. For me, it's one thing to have that realization in your head. It it kind of like, it's like a passing thought kind of thing. Not necessarily something that I sit and think with, but now that I'm here in this moment and I'm having a little bit of dialogue about it, it makes me ponder a bit more. Maybe that's why, because I'm talking out loud to myself at that I'm thinking about it so much. But still, I love the internet for the community that it's able to bring. I mean, of course, it has its downsides. There's those that are directly opposed to such communities and bring their negativity, but there's a lot of good that comes with it too, because there's so many wonderful people out there that you may or may not get the chance to meet in person, but you can at least have a little brief interaction with them online. Actually, that reminds me of a TikTok that I made recently. And I was just kind of doing like a little trend thing, where it's like, post your last picture of the sky. And it was a moon picture that I had taken that same night. And I posted it on my TikTok, not really thinking anything of it, kind of just sharing my picture of the sky, like like the post told me to, essentially. And the next morning I woke up and there were so many people that commented their pictures of the sky that they had taken, and it was such a wonderful moment for me because I love nature. I love the sky. I love the clouds. I love the moon and the sun. I love it all. And there were so many comments that people shared their perspectives with me, and I thought that was an amazing thing. Like, we don't follow each other. I have no idea who you are or where you're from or anything like that, but you decided to take the time to share your little blimp of an experience, the photo, with me on my page. You could have just kept on scrolling. You didn't have to go into your gallery and share that picture, but you did. And it brought a smile to my face because not only do I adore looking at the sky, she's beautiful, but it makes me happy to know that there are people who are out there and just free and willing to share what they can, what they have, because they like to, because they want to. There was one comment that was straight up no. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't engage with it at all because I didn't really see a need to. Why go out of your way to make such a comment? If you don't want to, just keep on scrolling, and that's okay. But yeah, and so that's what I did. I was like, I don't want to engage with this energy. I'm not going to. And I didn't. But it's little moments like that that make me smile, make me feel a little bit happy, bring a little bit of warmth into my heart. Because it's a wonderful thing when you sit and think about it. Or at least as I sit here and think about it, I find it to be a wonderful thing. I love the community that the internet is able to bring, that is able to develop in a way. And I feel like it's so much easier to make that community online versus in person. And I wonder why that is. Is it because the algorithm is so good at pinpointing people's personalities and putting that type of content on their feed? And so it brings all those like minds together. And so it's faster in that way. Or is it more so of like a society thing where we've been a little too programmed and accustomed to kind of sticking to yourself, especially like right now in this day and age in this economy? Things are getting tough in the US anyway. Well, I mean, not that it's all been fine and dandy, like rainbows and unicorns, but I don't think it's gotten much easier. I mean, maybe in one sense or another, sure, but overall, it feels like maybe this is just the media that I'm exposed to, but a lot of tough decisions, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? There's a lot of uncertainty, instability, a lot of negativity, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad. Even with the people that I interact with regularly, like at work, since I work retail, I don't know what it is. A lot of people like to kind of just vent to me. Like I'm just ringing you out. I'm just doing my job. But thank you for sharing that with me. I do appreciate your insight. And it's true. Like I don't say that shit just to say it. I say it because I mean it because it's true. Everyone's perspective is just a little bit different. Even if we do have the same idea, even if we do have the same or a similar thought, our perspectives are different. You and I may feel the same about, well, no, hold on. Let me try to think of an example. Like, damn. I don't like when I say things and I can't think of an example like right off the rip. Because it's like, do you even know what you're talking about right now? Do you know what you're talking about right now? No. Well, okay. Christmas, for example. I don't know why this came to mind, but whatever. I like Christmas. I enjoy the act of giving gifts and spending the quality time. Although in recent times it's been a bit more difficult for me. I've been in a little bit more of a isolation kind of mood, mindset. I don't know. But I enjoy it. But a kid might also enjoy Christmas, but not necessarily for the same reason. They might enjoy it because they get gifts. They get to see. It's more exciting for them to receive. they're receiving lots of gifts, or they're excited because they don't have to go to school. Same opinion. We both like Christmas. Different perspectives, different reasons. Are you picking up what I'm putting down? I hope so. I was kind of tapping my fingers. I don't know if the mic is picking it up because I'm not looking at the sound waves, but anyway, yes. Where train of thought off the rails right now. Oh, I said all this to say that I feel like it's easier to create the community online versus in person. Wait, but why did I say that anyway? I feel like I already went over that point. Maybe it's the algorithm. In person, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. In person, it's a bit tougher. I feel like maybe it's because we don't really know how to socialize anymore. This, well, I say we, but more so I mean me. Socializing, I feel like, has become a bit difficult. Maybe that's because I put it in my head to be that way, but I don't know. Given the state of the world right now, the state of the US specifically, since that's where I'm located, I feel like it's become a bit more difficult since, well, economically, things are more expensive than they have been, probably than they've ever been. And with that being said, the budget gets a little tight, so it's harder to go out and enjoy yourself when you have these worries in your mind, or you can't afford these things, or the list goes on. I don't really want to dwell on the negativities, but some reasons to start. So with that being said, you end up spending, or I end up spending a bit more time inside, and that's where the online community comes in. And it's so much easier to relate and, I guess, meet people online, because there's so many people online, and you don't have to just be at home in your bed. You can be at work, in the car, on the train, on the bus, walking, mm, anywhere, online. And all it takes is a couple seconds to interact with someone. But those couple of seconds interacting with that other person might make their day all that much better, might make them look for more positive experiences like that online. And that kind of keeps the cycle going a little bit. But I do I do still enjoy the fact that the internet has been such a catalyst, I want to say, for so many communities, for people to feel safe, and even if their environment surrounding them in that moment doesn't feel as such. You know what I mean? I hope you know what I mean. I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down. I feel like I'm rambling just a bit. I feel like I'm talking myself into circles right now. But I'm trying to get my point across in a way that I know makes sense to me. So hopefully it makes sense to you. But yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm got a little distracted with the computer. That's another thing though with me. I feel like I can be so squirrel brained, and I get a little too distracted with the my immediate surroundings. But like I said before, earlier on in the episode, it's a matter of progress and actively choosing to stay focused, stay on track, because sometimes that's really all you need. You just need that little bit of push from yourself to be like, remember, You got to stay focused. Remember, you set that boundary. Remember, you got to do that thing. Do this first, and then you can move on to the next. It's a work in progress, but 'tis life. Life is a work in progress, and that's uh, life is a work in progress. It is what it is. A work in progress. You're never really done. You're never really complete. There's always more to do, more to complete, but it's a matter of choosing what you want to do, what you want to complete. Excuse me. That was a random burp. The freak I haven't burped. Well, whatever. Again, with the distractions, we must stay focused, brother. We must stay focused. But the focus is something I struggle with. Maybe it's because I am a little bit more open to a lot of other things that I try not to close myself off to other possibilities because honestly, there's so many things that people once thought were impossible that ended up happening, ended up being created. So I like to keep my mind open, but I think with that openness, it draws away from my focus. And so I'm don't feel like I get to fully finish expressing the thoughts that I have because I kind of get steered off to a different direction in, in other moments. But yeah, I don't know, baby. I don't know. I think I'm gonna end this episode here, though. I feel like I've been rambling a little bit too much, and I'm talking in circles. And that feels like a little bit of a sign for me to just cut it, end it here. So, with that being said, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Kaylin's Corner. I hope you enjoyed. And if you're interested, you can keep up with me on my socials. They'll be linked in the description. Otherwise, this is it. Until next time, bye. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. See you later.